Hey, still not playing Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe? Narp. What are you doing? Still playing the original on Wii? You have seen the remake, right? Wrong answer, pup. Show her. Wow, that looks so cool. I bet the speedrun is even faster, right? Right? Believe it or not, Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe is almost 1 year old. I'm so old. Time is like a ticking clock. Like the video and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy it, because both of those things really help me out. Anyways, yes, you heard me correctly. This game originally came out on February 24th, 2023, and the 1 year anniversary is upon us. I will be doing a 12-hour stream on this very YouTube channel to celebrate it on its anniversary this Saturday, so make sure you stop by for that. But enough build-up, you saw the title of the video. Is this game still good after a full year? A lot has happened since this game came out. Tears of the Kingdom, Pikmin 4, non-Switch games like Baldur's Gate 3, even my GOAT, Fire Emblem Engage! Yeah! Finished its DLC run. So many games have come out, so many games are coming out, so how does Return Deluxe fare after all of this? That's what we're here to talk about today, but note that while I won't be going into any specific story or late game spoilers, I'll still be talking about all of the available modes in the game, which will inherently have some spoilers to them, so be warned. Before I begin my rambling, I did want to say one more thing. Channel familiars know this, but for those who are new here, hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Klaire, y'all have had Pats, and I speedrun Kirby games a lot. They're super cool for so many reasons, but since I'm talking about the larger package today, I'm actually not going to talk about speedrunning until the end of the video. Come on, I can't not talk about speedrunning. It's like a disease. Oh, and of course, I just have to give huge thanks to my Puptrons on Patreon. Consider clicking the link in the description and helping me out. You'll even get neat perks, including early access to future videos. Special thanks to my head-patting, Fluffle fan Puptrons, Biohazard, Tyke, the Serval that likes strawberry Pop-Tarts, Lydia Scribe, Vilafar, and remember, Miss K says Kirby, K, Curb, Corby, Kirby, Carb, Kirby. I love you all. Alright, okay, with that preamble all done, let's talk Kirby. To start simple, the setup for the game is that, while up to their usual misadventures, Kirby and the gang spot a giant ship pop into Dreamland from another dimension. You know, as you do. It crashes, and upon investigating, the crew finds this friendly egg named Magolor, whose ship has seen better days. Thankfully for Magolor, Kirby is better days and offers to help repair it, with the others following suit. Obviously, this is a face you could trust, right? So the gang sets off on a new adventure to help their new friend. It's a simple setup, but it works as a means of setting up a new adventure for the gang. Well, new in quotation marks, since this is still a remake of the Wii classic from 2011. If you've never played Return to Dreamland on the Wii, you'll be happy to know that it still holds up, even 12.5 years later. So it stands to reason that Return Deluxe also holds up after only 1 year. If I had to describe this game, imagine it on a system like the Super Nintendo or Genesis, Mega Drive, whatever, but with the quality of life you'd see on a more modern console, such as the Switch. And by all of this, I mean the entire focus of the game is on the gameplay. We can talk everything else later, but this isn't a game concerned with wasting your time in between levels and things like that. Aside from the occasional trips to Magolor's ship, the Lore Star Cutter, which also has an insane amount of things that you can do, Return Deluxe just wants you to play it and takes as many steps as it can to ensure no time is wasted in doing so. Of course, like I said, this game is a lot more modern. It has things like co-op, for example, from 2 to 4 players. It's as easy as hitting a button on a controller to get a friend or friends in to play with you. Super seamless, super fast, super fun. All of this is good for obvious reasons. If I purchased a video game, I'd want to play the darned video game, but fans of Kirby's more recent adventures may be a bit let down. Games like Triple Deluxe and Planet Robobot have features such as the Hypernova and the Robobot armor that change things up and offer different perspectives of gameplay. For example, you comically inhale enemies and obstacles in Triple Deluxe, and you use the enemy's advanced technology to drive away alien invaders from colonizing nature in Planet Robobot. Stuff like that you're not gonna find here. This is a game, you go through a level, you beat that level, you move on to the next. To me, this is only a good thing. I do love games like Robobot a lot, but you really don't realize how much fat can be trimmed from most video games, actually, until you play a game like Return Deluxe. And granted, giving Return Deluxe some credit here, it does have something unique going for it. Again, in air quotes, it's a remake, blah, blah, blah. You heard me the first time. Like and subscribe to super abilities. Occasionally, these special enemies will spawn that grant Kirby a copy ability that's super. The script really writes itself. My work is done here. Anyway, reflective of the game itself, there are very simple and fun to mess around with. You really just hit a button and watch everything on screen get nuked. Some are a little more involved, like Flare Beam and Snowball, but realistically, they just amount to the Zelda Wand of Gamelon equivalent of, "You must die!" You like my impression? Again, I like this. It's simple and it doesn't waste any of your time, but these have been critiqued by many fans and not fans for being too one-note. You're free to ignore the super abilities, of course, but you are missing out on getting 100% by doing so. How you actually get 100%, we'll talk about that a little later. This game is a hero that lives and unlives on its gameplay, and the good news is this game is really fun. If you're looking for a fun game that doesn't beat around the bush, this is a good one for you. The main story mode shouldn't take you much longer than 4 to 6 hours, especially if you're not going for 100%, but there is plenty of post-game content to get into, and not to mention going for full completion takes much longer. When we start to look past the gameplay, though, is where the game starts getting a bit more dicey. The graphics and music have turned a lot of people away from the game, and while the music seems to have more fans than haters, really all they did to the music, aside from add new tracks, is add a reverb echo effect to them, and it either makes them sound no different or kind of worse, which is what turns people away. But again, it has more fans than anything. It's not that big of a deal. But the visuals, boy. Ooh. Now, if you're watching this video so far and thinking, what's the problem? These visuals look great. Then don't let what I'm about to say detract you. It's honestly all the more reason you should get the game. And for what it's worth, if you're thinking about buying this game for your kid or something, I really don't think any of these issues would apply to them. I think a kid would have a blast with this game start to finish. I highly recommend you get it for them. But yeah, we really only need to talk about two main bullet points with the visuals. First, Day-to-Day's design. They kept his design from Forgotten Land, but the size is the same size as he was in Return to Dream Land on the Wii, and people do not like this. I don't mind it. It's got that Club Penguin vibe that I think is really funny, but if you want to play as Day-to-Day and hate how he looks here, that's something to keep in mind. Second, and way more importantly, these outlines have turned a lot of people away. It was very clearly done for clarity, helping players see enemies and Kirby much more easier, especially when there's a lot of things on screen at once. Unfortunately, the backgrounds very much don't have these, looking a lot more like what you'd see in the original. Now, it would be a lot of unnecessary work to add these outlines to the background, so I'm not necessarily saying they needed them, but at the very least, the two styles heavily clash, and honestly, in some places it looks fine, but in just as many other places, it can look rough. Again, I think by themselves, these look great. The outlines in particular look super stylized, giving this game kind of a pop-up book look, and giving Return to Dream Land a new identity that it never had. Unfortunately, though, you put the two together, they don't get along. They fight, Puppy cries, nobody's happy. In a very broad sense, that's how I describe it. A game that put so much focus and fun into the gameplay that it can fall a little flat in other areas. If you're a fan of Kirby, you'll absolutely be able to ignore the potential issues and just enjoy this incredibly fun game for what it is. That said, as a consumer who may not know this is a remake, just kind of looking for something to play start to finish and then put it down for a while, I honestly still don't think any of these are deal breakers. I'm not sure that I'd fully recommend it, especially if you're only going to zoom through the story and never play it again. I don't know why you'd play video games like that, but people do apparently. That said, yeah, the game still has these issues, but I don't think anything here is a huge deal breaker. Yet. We'll talk about the big deal breaker a little later, but you're still playing a fun game that you're gonna be charmed by and, in equal parts, have fun playing. Yeah, but as a remake, I don't want to say it fails. It does legitimately have good perks over the original, and there are many people out there that prefer Deluxe to the original. But for all its faults, which I've never gotten some of these, some of you guys are crazy, Return to Dream Land on the Wii was a remarkably consistent experience. Return Deluxe still has those same highs, but with the issues that just never existed in the original. Strictly speaking, for the main campaign, Return Deluxe I kind of think is a hard sell. If the prospect of playing Return to Dream Land again is enough for you, I'm not going to stop you, trust me, but at the very least, I think you should be warned. Of course, both games have more to offer than just the campaign. I do think, especially with Kirby games, you should go past the main story. It very much makes all of these games better and more worth the money, but I won't go into as much detail with these modes, given that I had already talked a bunch about the main campaign. But first, have you ever wondered what I smell like? Hey, don't click off the video, I promise this isn't anything weird. I'm just saying, if you want to know my scent, I have a candle. It is called the Vanilla Fluffle Scented Candle, and I think it came out really, really well. At the checkout, you can either decide to get a normal candle or one with a wooden wick if you like to hear that crackling sound. I don't think that's it, but that's the sound that I wanted to make in the moment. Not only is this website a trusted source, and you can have a little more Fluffle in the house, and if you use the link in the description down there, you will also be supporting me for no extra cost. Thank you very much again to Candle for this opportunity. This isn't a sponsored video or anything, I just wanted to let you guys know I have a candle now. Now, on with the video! For the modes that were also in Return to Dream Land Original, we first have the Extra mode. In the Wii version, you played the game a second time with less HP, larger enemies, smaller enemies sometimes. Hal loves trolling us, and we love Hal back, of course. More enemies, harder challenge stages, which I didn't even get to talk about, those are so much fun, and harder bosses. I think it was fun, although it was also very obvious padding. A nice callback to earlier games, don't get me wrong, but not enough had changed to justify it being there and having to get a separate 100% completion from the story mode. Well, I like it, but that's the general consensus from what I've been able to gather. Return Deluxe doesn't do much to change it. New enemy placements were changed, making for a slightly more challenging experience. It's neat, but the only two fully new changes are that Kirby can't summon the helper Mangalore. I didn't even get to talk about that, but it's so insignificant, who really cares? And more importantly, food is largely gone. Everything except Maxim tomatoes, poof, no more. And Maxim tomatoes themselves are replaced with regular food. So aside from lucky enemy food spawns, you're not finding much healing here. It's a very interesting change and is overall definitely harder than the original's Extra mode. It doesn't change the inherent padding issue, of course, you are ultimately just playing the game again. To repeat myself, I didn't mind the padding in the original, and I definitely don't mind it here, but again, if you're looking to potentially get the game, just be warned. There's also the arena modes returning, where you go through a gauntlet of bosses with limited healing in between fights. As always, these are super fun, and they may not be as substantial as the other modes. There is really nothing to say that's wrong with them either. Boss fights in Kirby games are always a highlight, and Return to Dream Land is no exception. Not only all of that, but the true arena in this game specifically is actually really hard. So if you're yearning for some genuinely hard Kirby that you can't get from a ROM hack or a mod or something, this is the mode that you want to play. You will not be disappointed, I promise. Now, for new content, when you beat the story mode for the first time, you not only unlock the regular arena, you also unlock Magolor Epilogue, a mode where you play as Magolor. I won't go into story specifics here, but as this mode was heavily advertised prior to launch, I can say without a shadow of a doubt that this is the most interesting mode in the game. Magolor trades Kirby's copy abilities for an upgrade system where you can make Magolor more powerful by playing levels, defeating enemies, and gathering apple fragments from bosses. The more you play and engage with the mode, the stronger Magolor gets, and it's built around that idea. It's super neat, and while a bit short, it's probably the best part of the whole package. Old or new fan. To get a little cheeky here, if you have Nintendo Switch Online, I actually recommend making a backup cloud save of this mode not being cleared, so that you can easily go back to it and re-experience the whole thing whenever you want. It's seriously that special. And that leaves us one more mode, Merry Magoland. And this mode right here, you already know what's coming. I've talked about this so many times on the channel. Signifies the deal breaker for this game. One I've actually genuinely seen turn people away from buying this game. But before getting into that, what is Merry Magoland itself? A long story short, it's a really cute minigame collection presented as a theme park built by Magolor. You can play 10 minigames here, all 4-player, with 8 of them being from previous games and 2 of them being brand new. The lineup is varied and fun for all 10, to where any of them could be your favorite, and yeah, I'd understand. There are also missions to clear for each minigame that add some replay value, and when you clear all 100 of them, you get a bonus 20 that are even harder. This game is not lacking in content. But yeah, alright, so far for Merry Magoland, we're looking at a good start. Multiplayer mode, you can play it with friends. Unfortunately, this being a first or second party Nintendo Switch game, there's no online. Oh, you can connect to the internet and get fun facts from Magolor, or play 1 round per day of Samurai Kirby 100 with random people. That's it! The other minigames, the story modes, the arena modes, Magolor Epilogue, the mode built around playing with other people, all have a multiplayer and are offline locked. Now, I shouldn't have to say this, but having offline multiplayer, that's a good thing, yes. And because of that fact, a lot of people like to act like this is not a big deal, but it is, period. In the age of the internet, forget the convenience of online for nearby friends. Not being able to play with friends in different countries, or different states, heck, different cities. It just stinks. And you would love to have the convenience of online with friends around for a full 100%, given you have to beat every mode, get 100% in the story mode twice because of extra, unlock everything in Magolor Epilogue, clear 120 missions in Merry Magoland, and hunt for music for the sound test because, yeah, there's hidden music throughout the game that you don't unlock naturally. Being able to chip away at all of this with friends would have been fantastic. I'm not dismissing couch co-op, and when you can actually get friends together, it is a blast. I'm not saying this from a personal point of view, I'm saying this from an angle of, it's 2023, games need online, some people have to play online. It's just stupid that it doesn't have it. All of that being said, though, if Puppy can interject with her speedrunner brain rot for a bit, it's tough to say much about the speedruns of this game. The story and extra are very underdeveloped and mostly just boil down to wing good, and the arena and the true arena are just bodied by Day-to-Day and Sand respectively. There hasn't been much progress on ability solos either, which is where I really like to look, so that's kind of a shame. Magolor Epilogue, thankfully, is the mode to speedrun in this game, with new tech being discovered even to this very day. A new world record was set just 10 days ago as the time of this writing. It's just so cool. Of course, based on the footage that you're seeing on the screen, you can tell which speedrun stole my heart. Of all things, the Merry Magoland 100 mission speedrun has become one of my favorite speedruns of all time. Specifically, the 4-player run has so much variety and so many silly cheese strats that you can get away with, but you still need to be on top of your game in order to get good times and stay optimized. an absolute blast, and it's been so long since I did a run of it. I really want to do one again. Someday I'll get there, but for now, would I recommend you buy a Kirby's Return to Dream Land Deluxe? If you like Kirby games, by all means, yes, you're going to like it, and at the very least, a good chunk of the issues are things you'll be able to forgive, given the base game is so much fun. For $60, it is a little tough to recommend people who aren't fans, especially more casual players who would like to play it with their friends and want to give online a shot, but I genuinely still think it's worth a try regardless. If you have people to play with offline, definitely it's a much easier sell. The multiplayer here is a game changer, but I would honestly suggest waiting for a sale. For $50, I think that's a great price, and the occasional $40 I've seen it for, that's an absolute steal. Overall, yes, I would say this is a great game even after a full year. But what do you think? Tell me what your thoughts are on Return Deluxe in the comments below. I have been Klaire, thank you all so much for watching, and this game is great, but not as great as my GOAT Fire Emblem Engage! Let's go, baby! Rise of 1,000 years ago!